Alright, so you really want to get into photography and you're looking online or you're going to the camera store to try to find the best camera, the perfect camera if you will, for the beginners. However, you quickly realize that the options are so many that your brain goes into a complete choice overload, making it even harder for you to decide. So naturally, you ask your uncle, friend, or your favorite camera influencer, what camera should I be picking? Only to realize that they're all recommending different camera brands. Gee, what a mess we found ourselves in. Well, don't you worry. Your favorite local Icelandic guy is here to help you out. With almost a decade of photography behind me, I can confidently say that I know the answer to this question. And it's not what you expect. So stick around to the very end, my friend, because we're about to reveal some serious photography mystery. Alright, so in my opinion, when you're a beginner, you can honestly just start with your phone. I mean, a lot of my photos that I take and share on Instagram are all taken with my phone. The phones nowadays are incredible and there are so good cameras in it. But I get that you didn't come here to hear that advice. You want to get something a little bit more serious, something where you might be able to change your lenses even so you can get a little bit more artistic look and just, overall stepping up your photography game. I get that. And that's where gear comes into the equation. And oh boy, can I tell you that us photographers, we love gear. The newest, latest, greatest, we want it all, And I honestly don't care what anybody says because gear, it does matter. However, it doesn't matter as much as beginners think that it, does. And because the camera isn't able to artistically come up with the photos by itself, I think it's very important to learn what goes into capturing a great photo. I mean, honestly, it is so much like the time of the day, mastering light, and just the shape of the subject. Then there's something called leading lines and a whole lot of other things that are all important in order for, you and me to capture fantastic looking photos. Not to mention the fact that just learning how to master the camera, your camera, my cameras, I have too many cameras, but just learning how to mastering the camera system is also vital in order for you and me to capture the best possible photos. I feel like one of them, a lifting channel.
Be the best version of yourself.
But I know what you're thinking. We're already a little deep in the video and you're like, my guy, I didn't come here to hear your silly little advice about me learning photography. I want to learn what camera I should pick. Don't stress, we're getting there and you're gonna be surprised. I just first want to take a few seconds to really hammer home the importance of just learning the basics of photography that is so important. However, if we now dive into the gear and specifically what camera is the best for newbie photographers or what you should be picking, then I think it's really important to keep in mind, or at least what I keep in mind, what will you exactly be using it most for? As in, what type of photos will you be taking? And then I'm not only talking about indoors or landscape or outdoor street photography, but also more specifically, what type of photos exactly? Is it like you want to get into more journalistic photos or a little bit more of portrait type of photos, or you was gonna go entirely into some epic wildlife photography? I don't know. All I think is gonna matter because certain camera brands are better at certain things, or at least that's what they claim, when you're looking at it on paper. And the reason I think it's good to keep all of this in mind is that once you've decided to go with a brand, that's most often gonna be the brand you're gonna be with for a very long time because you're diving into a rabbit hole of buying all of these different lenses that only works on this specific type of photo, not photo, this type of camera I'm trying to say here, not native English speaking here, and also all the accessories needed for your camera. So you end up with a bunch of different things that only work for this system, so you're kind of quote unquote stuck. And I'm here with, I don't know how many Sony cameras I own, so many different, lenses that work for Sony E-mount. So if I would like to, switch now, it's a big hassle. Like, I own all of these different lenses. I would need to sell them all, and oh God, I cannot. Sony, I'm yours forever.
Plus, Sony's they're just fantastic cameras, but I'm not biased. I'm a total Sony fanboy.
On top of that, when you've been photographing and filming with a certain camera system for a long time, you start to know it inside out. Switching isn't also easy because the learning curve is boring to get through. Now, if we like break down the few different like most popular camera brands nowadays, and here I'm just gonna go super bro science on you, and yeah, this is just generally speaking based on my feelings kind of, but I've been in the game for a long time. Like if we talk about Canon, then they're like specifically known for having great colors straight out of the cameras. All of my friends that work like in model, or not all of them, but like a good majority of them that work with like model photography and whatnot, they all use Canon cameras, and they love the colors that the cameras are, you know, that they can produce. And I know this was big back in the day. I think that like other camera brands have started to catch up with the color science, but there is something about the Canon camera that is nice. Also, the grip on a Canon camera, I've held a Canon camera, believe it or not, I've actually held one in my life. The grip is fantastic. It feels really good. My Sony camera, although I love it, it is a little bit, you know, boxy, and it is not as comfortable in the hand. And that's one thing, you know. And I think in general, most of the Canon users I know, they're like focusing more on photography rather than filmmaking. So there might be something, you know, there. Although, of course, nowadays Canon cameras can make fantastic films. I mean, all cameras nowadays are really good. Anyhow, Sony cameras is where I use a lot, if you didn't know. They're really known for being like having fantastic autofocus system, really good with film and photo. And also one thing that I think Sony does a lot is that they're constantly pushing their gear and innovating as much as they possibly can. Now, it can result, of course, in cameras, it can overheat and things like that, because they're just jamming so much good things on paper in the body that is absolutely wicked. You look at this and like, how can this do all of this for, I mean, this price point? That's Sony in a nutshell. If we talk about Fuji, then, you know, they're really hipster-ish, and if you're a hipster person, then that might be really good for you. They're probably good too, never tried it. And then Panasonic, I've seen that they're doing a lot of cool things. I never tried them again too, and Nikon. Anywho, the truth is that all camera brands nowadays have fantastic entry-level cameras. I mean, the specs, the basic cameras today have is something that professional photographers could only dream about if you just go like 10 years back. It's absolutely insane what the beginner cameras now can do. I mean, one thing that is happening too is that the cameras are so good, they're so sharp, they're just like, they've gotten to a place where it's like, can they become better? That a lot of us that are into photography are like putting mist filters on top. I have a mist filter here to make the image softer looking. You see, I like, it's too sharp. I put a mist filter on here and it becomes soft and glowy. Beautiful. I like that. Also, many of us are nowadays starting to color grade and edit our footage to be a little bit more retro looking, a little bit more vintage. That is hot right now. Or using some old lenses. I have a bunch of these vintage lenses and they make these cool old school characteristics. So it could be argued like, do we really need the best, like 200 megapixels? Is that even like, who cares? But as I stated in the beginning of the video, I am here to help you figure out what brand you should go with. And that is the main, like, you know, focus of this video. And that is my promise. And I do know. So if I was a beginner today and I was like picking my first camera, what I would keep in mind is firstly what we talked about before. What am I like end goal with the camera? What am I striving to becoming to like wanting to do with it? Because as we talked about before, some camera brands, they like are known for being better at certain aspects within, you know, photography and filmmaking. And I would keep that in mind, like where I want to take my journey, and then I would pick based on cameras that would suit my best needs for that. Now, I would also base my decision based on what are the people around me shooting on? Because if all of my friends and the people I know are like Canon users,
I don't even know if they were Nikon users.
I would probably be more inclined of picking that camera brand and going with that, because like we can share with each other all the different lenses. There are so many cool lenses available for all different types of cameras. Like all camera brands are hustling out lenses all the time. And you can, if you like have a lot of cash, this like hobby of ours isn't like really cheap, if you didn't know, then we can, you know, lend lenses to each other, or the other camera accessory that are specifically designed for, you know, let's say that is Canon or Sony. Like if you're my friend, I own a lot of Sony things, you know. But with all that being said, what I would remind myself of again and again is to not overthink it and just, grab whatever camera I can afford at the moment and think would be the best for me or simply just the
coolest looking,
I would then proceed to learn how to master it, and then, my friends, I would devote as much time as I possibly could to master the beautiful art of photography and also filmmaking. Because in my honest opinion, it quite frankly doesn't matter what camera brand you go with. Just pick one and become a master of it. Now, if you are on the other hand on the lookout for a first camera or just a new camera in general, then my friend, next you should watch this video, because this entry-level camera right here, it really surprised me.